On NZDUSD daily time frame, price is currently approaching our upper brown rejection trend line and strong supply zone. As you can see, price made an aggressive movement downward from it, and we also have a small gap around here. So we'll be looking for objective sell setups on lower time frames, knowing that price can still go up and test the upper resistance 0.68 before going downward. So for now, price is sitting around a strong rejection area. So let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. As you can see here, we already have a divergence. While price was making higher highs, MACD was making lower highs. So that's our second confluence, but we still need a third confluence and a trigger for extra confirmation. So as you can see, price is trading inside this channel, but it's not objective yet. So we are waiting for a third swing to form around it to consider it valid, and our last swing standing and trigger, and then we will enter sell on its break downwards. Meanwhile, until our sell setup is activated, we would be overall bullish on NZDUSD. On Bitcoin weekly time frame, price is still sitting around our rejection area. It's a combination of a supply in blue and round number 10. We also have a rejection trend line in blue, as you can see here. So it's a trend following setup. So we'll be looking for objective sell setups on lower time frames, knowing that price can still test our upper 11K level before going downward. For now, let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. As you can see here, price was making higher highs and higher lows, and after retesting our 10K level, price reversed. We've had a shift in momentum, and now price is making equal lows and lower highs, forming a descending triangle pattern, which is a bearish pattern. So our trigger would be a momentum candle close below our lower red trend line. So that's what we are waiting for, a momentum candle close just below this area to sell Bitcoin long term. And as mentioned before, price can still test our 10K again before going downward. So if price breaks above our upper red trend line, a movement till our 10K or even 11K would be expected. And in this case, we would be looking for new objective sell setups to form around this area. Anyway, I'm personally only looking for sell opportunities around here, as I don't sell, I don't buy around resistance. So even if price breaks above our upper at the trend line, I would not buy Bitcoin. And as mentioned, I would be looking for new opportunities to form around this area to sell Bitcoin with a good risk to reward ratio. So that's our second scenario. First one, we are waiting for a momentum candle close below our lower red trend line to sell. Second scenario would be a retest at our 10K, then we'll be looking for new sell setups to form. On GBPUSD daily time frame, price is currently sitting around a strong resistance zone in green and rejecting our upper brown trend line. So we'll be looking for objective trend following sell setups on lower time frames. Unless price breaks it upward aggressively, then our resistance will become support, and we'll be looking for objective buy setups on its retest. For now, our green zone is acting as resistance, so let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. As usual, we first check MACD. As you can see, we do have a divergence. While price was making higher highs, MACD was making lower highs. That's our second confluence, but the setup is not ready to sell yet, as we always wait for a third confluence and a trigger as an extra confirmation. As you can see, price formed an objective wedge pattern, first swing, second swing, and third swing, which acts as our last swing. So we'll be waiting for a momentum candle close below our gray area to sell GBPUSD, and as usual, our stop loss goes just above the last swing from the other side, and we always target a 2 to 1 risk to reward ratio. Meanwhile, until our setup is activated, we would be overall bullish on GBPUSD. On EURAUD H4 timeframe, price is currently trading below this trend line in green. So we are overall bearish and we'll be looking for objective sell setups on lower time frames as a movement till our lower blue demand zone is expected. Unless price forms a new swing around our upper green trend line, then we'll consider it as our new last swing and then we'll enter buy on its break upward. So as mentioned before, for now we are overall bearish. So let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. As you can see here, price is currently trading inside this channel and approaching our upper green trend line. We also have divergence. While price was making higher highs, MACD was making lower highs, means that a potential reversal might happen, but as usual, trading is reactive and not predictive. So let's wait for our setups. Our two scenarios are: first, we are waiting for a new swing to form around our lower red trend line to consider it our new last swing, and then we will enter sell on its break downward as a movement till our lower demand zone is expected. That's our first scenario. And as mentioned from H4, we would be waiting for a new swing to form around our upper green trend line to consider it our last swing. And then we'll enter buy on break upward. So we will sell after a break below the last swing around our lower red trend line, and we will buy after a break above the last swing around our upper green trend line. Let's see what happens. On USDHUF H4 timeframe, price is currently sitting around a strong resistance zone, so we'll be looking for objective sell setups on lower timeframes. Unless price breaks it upward aggressively, then we'll be looking for objective buy setups on its retest. For now, our zone and trend line are acting as resistance, so let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. As you can see here, price is currently trading inside this descending triangle in red, which is a bearish pattern, bearish continuation pattern. So we will be waiting for a momentum candle close below our lower red trend line to sell this one with our stop loss on the last swing from the other side, and we also have a head and shoulders pattern adding more confluence to our sell setup. So as mentioned, we are waiting for a momentum candle close below this red trend line to sell USDHUF. Meanwhile, it is overall bullish, but we will not buy on the break of our upper red trend line, as I personally do not buy around resistance. I only look for sell opportunities. So in this case, if price breaks our upper red trend line upward, then we'll be looking for new objective sell setups to form as price retests our previous resistance again. On CADCHF H4 timeframe, price is overall bullish, trading inside these two blue trend lines, and it's currently sitting around our lower one. So we'll be looking for objective trend following buy setups on lower timeframes, unless price breaks below our resistance aggressively, which would be the last swing around our lower blue trend line. Then we will sell CADCHF long term if we have three confluences. Meanwhile, as mentioned, we are overall bullish, so let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential buy opportunities. As you can see, CADCHF formed an objective channel in red, so we are waiting for an objective break above our upper red trend line to buy CADCHF. On NZDCAD daily time frame, price is currently retesting a strong resistance zone in green and our upper blue trend line. So we'll be looking for objective trend following sell setups on lower time frames. Unless price breaks it upward aggressively, then our resistance will become support and we'll be looking for objective buy setups on its retest. For now, our zone is acting as resistance, so let's zoom into lower time frames and look for potential sell opportunities. As you can see here, first of all, we have divergence. Price was making higher highs while MACD is making lower highs. That's our second confluence, but as usual, we are not ready to sell yet, as we always wait for a third confluence and a trigger for extra confirmation. As you can see here, NZDCAD is forming a channel in red, but it's not valid yet. So we are waiting for a third swing to form around our lower red trend line to consider it valid. And then we will enter sell on its break downward. That's our first long-term scenario. From a short-term perspective, As price approaches our upper 0.89 round number, we'll be looking for objective sell setups on lower time frames around this area. So we are speculating this movement and then a new swing to form around our lower red trend line, and then we'll enter on to break downwards. Meanwhile, as long as our sell setup is not activated on lower time frames or on H4, we would be overall bullish on NZDCAD. On EURNZD daily time frame, price is currently sitting around a strong support zone in blue, so we'll be looking for objective buy setups on lower time frames. And if we zoom in, we can see that this zone is also acting as a demand zone, as this bearish candle is the only red candle inside this bullish movement. So as mentioned, we'll zoom into lower time frames and look for potential buy opportunities around our blue support and demand zone. As you can see here from an H4 perspective, price is currently trading inside this channel in blue, but it's not valid yet. So we are waiting for a third swing to form around our upper blue trend line to consider it valid, and then we will enter buy on its break upward. That's for our long-term perspective. And if we zoom into H1, we can see that we also have a short-term entry. If we put on MACD, we can see that we already have a divergence. While price was making low lows, MACD was making high lows. So that's our second confluence. So we are waiting for a third swing to form around our upper red trend line to consider it valid, and our last swing, and then we'll enter buy on its break upward. That's for our short-term entry, and then for long-term traders can wait for a new swing to form around our upper red blue trend line, and then we also have a second entry around here. For now, until our buy setups are activated, EURNZD would be overall bearish.